Level 1. You paint at night. Not because it's romantic, because during the day you deliver food on a bicycle and the nights are the only time that's yours. Your supplies live under the bed in the room you share with two other people. 3 cans of spray paint, 2 brushes, a palette knife, and a headlamp you bought for $8. Your studio is whatever wall nobody is watching. You found a spot last Tuesday, a concrete surface behind a parking structure, facing an alley that nobody uses after 10 p.m. You worked for 3 hours. You painted a figure, large, maybe 2 meters tall, arms slightly raised, face unfinished. You stepped back. It was good. You knew it was good, the way you know something before you have language for it. By Thursday, someone had photographed it. By Friday, the photo had 4,000 likes on an account that didn't tag you, didn't mention you, didn't know your name. The caption said, "Found this gem in the city. Art is everywhere. Art is everywhere. You are nowhere." You messaged the account. They said thanks. They didn't know who made it. They'd add a credit if you wanted. You said yes. They added it. It got 11 likes. The original post had kept going. 12,000 by Saturday. You're not angry exactly. You're something that doesn't have a clean name yet. Last month, you sold 1 original, a small canvas, oil, 30 by 40 centimeters, to a woman who found you through a friend. She paid $200. You spent $60 of it on new paint, $40 on a roll of canvas. The remaining $100 paid for 3 days of groceries. You calculated this without needing a calculator. At this level, that math is automatic. The folded chair in your room used to belong to someone else. You found it on the street. Everything in your studio has a history that isn't yours. The paint is yours. The hours are yours. The wall belongs to the city. The photo belongs to whoever took it. You paint anyway. Not because the economics make sense, because the alternative, a night where you don't, feels worse than all of it. Level 2. You work 4 days a week at a coffee shop. The other 3 days, you paint. This is the schedule you've built around the assumption that one day the ratio will flip. More painting, less coffee. You've been operating on this assumption for 2 years. The ratio has not flipped. You sell prints online. Each one is $30. After the platform fee, the printing cost, the packaging, and the shipping materials, you keep about $18. Last month, you sold 11. You did the math. $198. You used it to buy a new canvas, 3 tubes of paint, and a bag of noodles. You considered this a good month. You're still considering it. You've researched optimal posting times. Thursday morning, 7:30 a.m. is when your audience is most active according to the analytics dashboard. You check more than you'd like to admit. You post every Thursday at 7:30 a.m. You resent that you know this. You do it anyway. One morning, a customer at the coffee shop asked what you do outside of work. You said you're a painter. He said, "Oh, nice, like houses?" You said, "No, fine art." He nodded and asked for oat milk. You made his coffee. You had a good month in October. 14 prints, 1 original. A small oil painting, $350. A woman bought it for her bedroom. A week later, she sent you a photo of it on her wall. The light in her room was nice. Your painting looked good in it. You saved that photo. You look at it sometimes on the bad weeks, not for motivation exactly, but for evidence. Proof that the thing left your hands and landed somewhere real. Most pieces don't get a photo. Most pieces leave, and you never find out where they go. You've started thinking of it like sending letters with no return address. Your Instagram has 1,400 followers. 40 of them have bought something. The other 1,360 like things occasionally and keep moving. You understand this. You do the same on other people's pages. You're not unhappy. You're also not where you thought you'd be by now. Level 3. You have gallery representation now. This is real progress. You say it out loud sometimes to hear how it sounds. My gallery. It sounds good. It also sounds like something that belongs to a different version of you that hasn't fully arrived yet. The gallery takes 50% of every sale. This is standard. It's the same rate everywhere, enforced with the cheerful certainty of gravity. The gallery sells 3 to 5 of your pieces a year. Your work is priced between $600 and $2,000. You clear between $300 and $1,000 per piece. Last year, total, $4,400 from art. You still work at the coffee shop, but now you tell people at the coffee shop that you have a gallery. This improves nothing financially. It improves something else. Your opening night had free sparkling wine, the cheap kind but cold. You stood in the white room in front of your own work and talked to strangers about what the paintings meant. You got good at this, the 2-minute version that sounds considered and not defensive. Someone asked if the blue in the large piece was intentional. You said yes, it was. You were glad they asked because it gave you something to do with your hands. You sold one piece that night. A couple, mid-40s, stood in front of it for a long time. They didn't ask any questions. They just looked. Then the woman said to the man, "It's the one." They bought it. You watched the red dot go up next to it. That red dot was the best part of the evening. Better than the wine. The gallery owner told you to be patient, that markets take time to build. He said this wearing a jacket that cost more than your monthly rent. You nodded. You went home and calculated your art income for the month, $1,200. You made a cup of tea. You went to bed. Level 4. You got a residency, 4 weeks, a private studio, housing included, a small stipend. You added it to your CV in bold. What the CV doesn't show is that this was your 4th application to a program like this. The first 3 said no. You didn't tell anyone about the first 3. You told everyone about the 4th. Your income this year came from a grant, 2 guest teaching sessions at a university, and a prize from an open call, the kind where 600 people apply and 5 win. Your total from selling work, $3,200. You've stopped mentioning this detail in conversation, not because you're ashamed, but because it requires too much context to explain why it doesn't mean what people think it means. A curator wrote about you in an exhibition catalog. 200 words. She described your work as negotiating the tension between materiality and presence. You read it 4 times. You're still not sure you agree, but you've started using the phrase when someone asks what your work is about, and it seems to satisfy people. You've decided this is fine. During the residency, you met another artist. She was from somewhere far away. Neither of you spoke the other's first language, so you spoke in English, slowly, carefully. She asked questions nobody else had asked. You showed her a painting you hadn't shown anyone. She looked at it for a long time, then said, "This one's scared." You didn't know what she meant. 3 days later, you understood. You reworked the piece. It's now one of the strongest in the series. You went back to the coffee shop after the residency. The schedule picked back up. The ratio is still the same. 4 days working, 3 days painting. But something in the 3 days is different now. Less explaining yourself to yourself, more just going. Level 5. Your work sells between $5,000 and $30,000 now. There is a waiting list, small, real, occasionally inconvenient, in a way that feels new and slightly absurd. Someone waited 8 months for a piece. 8 months ago, you were still supplementing income with teaching. You find this timeline hard to hold in your head as a single continuous story. You turned down an exhibition invitation last spring. Not a scheduling conflict. You just didn't think it was right. You stood in your studio after hanging up the phone, feeling the shape of that decision. Saying no, when you finally have the standing to say no, feels different from how you imagined it would. Your gallerist has started using phrases like market positioning and collector relationships. You bought a book about the art market, read a third of it, and placed it face down on your desk like a punishment. The information inside it is accurate. You find it deeply uncomfortable how accurate it is. A collector bought 2 pieces and sent you a photo of them installed in his living room. White sofa, good light, the paintings on the wall opposite the window. He framed them well. Then you found out he bought 3 more of your pieces through a different channel. Not because he loves them, because someone told him your name is moving. You thought about what that means for a few days. You didn't reach a conclusion. You kept painting. That's the only part you're sure about. You still go to the studio every day. The work itself hasn't changed. The frame around it has changed entirely. You're still deciding how you feel about that. Level 6. Your work is in a booth at a major art fair. The prices start at $50,000. The gallery still takes half. You've stopped doing the math out loud in the presence of your gallerist because the expression it produces on your face is apparently readable. Your gallerist suggested you stop attending the public openings. Not all events, just the large ones, the ones where everyone goes. He said something about scarcity and visibility and the way the market reads presence. You understood what he was saying. You followed the advice. A piece you sold 6 years ago for $3,000 appeared in a pre-sale estimate at $60,000. You saw it listed online, recognized it immediately. It's the one with the horizontal mark in the lower left, a mistake you decided to keep. Someone is selling it. You get nothing from this transaction. This is not a loophole. This is how it works. A collector has been buying your work steadily for 2 years. You've met him twice, both times at openings. He always wears the same style of shoe in different colors. You noticed this on the second meeting. You've thought about it more than is probably proportionate. Somewhere along the way, you realized his buying has a pattern to it. Not random, not purely emotional. You felt simultaneously recognized and unsettled by this realization, roughly equally. You smiled at him at the last opening. He smiled back. Neither of you said anything real. After the fair, your gallerist sent numbers. Strong week. You read them, then put your phone face down, then picked it up and read them again. You went into the studio the next morning the same way you always do. You made coffee. You looked at the work on the wall. You started. Level 7. You're represented by one of the largest galleries in the world. There was no ceremony, no contract signing over a formal dinner, just a series of conversations, then an announcement, then everything was different. People in the art world treated it like a consecration. You were at the same desk, in the same studio, making the same kind of work. Your pieces are in institutional collections now, museums, foundations, a university's permanent holdings. You went to see one of them installed. You stood in front of your own work on a museum wall while a docent explained it to a group of students. She got some of it right. She got some of it wrong in a way that wasn't entirely wrong, just shifted. You didn't say anything. You listened. You walked out. A painting you sold 10 years ago for $4,000 went through an auction house last month. Final price, $1.7 million. You received nothing. A friend asked if you were angry. You thought about it seriously before answering. You said you weren't sure angry was the right word. You're still not sure. There's something in there. Not anger, exactly. More like watching someone describe a dream you had and getting all the details slightly wrong while still somehow capturing the feeling. Your gallery represents close to 100 artists. You are one of them. The gallery has locations across multiple continents. It occupies more real estate than some small museums. You don't know your weight in this system. Nobody tells you directly. But you know that weight exists and that it shifts, and that being the subject of a major institution show would shift it upward, and that a few quiet years might shift it the other way. The work is the same work it always was. The room around it has gotten very large. Some days, that's fine. Some days, you close the studio door and don't think about the room at all. Those are the better days. Level 8. Your name has started circulating without your work attached to it. People say, I want to get a your name, not I want to get a painting a buy. You noticed this grammatical shift about a year ago. You haven't decided what it means, but you know it means something. A luxury brand approached you about a collaboration. Then a real estate development. Then a private bank wanted custom works as client gifts. You said yes to one, no to two. Your gallerist received the 2 no's with 3 seconds of silence on the phone before saying, okay, let's think about it. You've come to understand that 3-second silence. It has a specific weight. You still go to the studio every day. People around you have started finding this mildly eccentric. You don't know how to explain it, so you usually don't try. You go, you close the door, you work. A collector holds 12 of your pieces as part of a portfolio. You've met him once, briefly, at a fair. His assistant visited your studio to document condition, took photographs, filled out a form, was professional and efficient. You weren't there that day. You found out from your gallery afterward. Your work was assessed in your absence. You found this neither surprising nor comfortable. Someone asked you in an interview what success looks like at this stage. You gave an answer. It was a good answer. Considered, articulate. You looked at the painting on the wall, the one you've been working on for 3 weeks, the one that isn't right yet. You stood there for a while. Then you went to bed. And in the morning, you came back. And you worked on it again. Level 9. Your name is part of art history now, while you're still alive. This is a strange place to be. You're still writing the story, but people have started drafting the afterword. A painting you made early on, small, oil on board, a figure in a doorway, sold at a private sale last week for $8.2 million. You made it in a rented room. The floor was covered in newspaper because you couldn't afford a proper drop cloth. The canvas leaned against the wall because you didn't have an easel. You finished it at 3 a.m. and felt something close to complete. You sold it 3 months later for $800 because rent was due and the number felt real. You know exactly where that $800 went. You don't know where the painting has gone. The buyer is a family office. The work is in a climate-controlled storage facility. Temperature and humidity precisely maintained. No one is looking at it. It is waiting. A young artist came to your studio this afternoon. He asked how you started. You looked at him. You thought about the alley, the headlamp, the folded chair you found on the street. The first print you sold for $30, net $18. How you folded the bills and put them in your jacket pocket and walked home and felt, not successful exactly, but like the whole thing was at least real. You told him, you just paint. You didn't tell him the rest. Not because you were withholding, but because you knew it wouldn't help. He needs to find the rest himself. Everyone does. He left. You closed the studio door. You picked up a brush. The afternoon light through the window was the particular yellow it gets in late afternoon, the kind you've been trying to paint accurately for 30 years and haven't quite managed yet. You looked at the canvas. You started. The painting you made in that rented room is in a vault somewhere. The one you're making now is on the wall in front of you. You're not sure which one is the real work. You're not sure the question matters.